Dear woman in STEM, I'm a Black woman who just graduated from engineering school with a BSc in mechanical engineering, and I received an engineering job offer with a salary of $50,000, which I personally believe is too low for me. Since this is my first professional job offer, should I just suck it up and not negotiate or fight for what I believe I should be getting? Dear woman in STEM, it's so great to have this opportunity to speak with you. My name is Lillian Judy, and I'm so happy to have you with me today. The Dear Women in STEM podcast is a diary-style podcast designed to help women in STEM navigate the field. But not only that, it's a love letter to all the women in STEM who have ever been told that they're not good enough, they don't belong, or even those who just feel like they don't fit in. With your help, I'm going to answer common questions, offer support and guidance to you, and just really have a good kiki with you all as I share transparent stories and experiences with you. So buckle up and let's begin. Sincerely, Lillian Judy. Listen, this summer, everyone wants to be outside. Like, outside is popping, there's so many things going on. You know, it's been a very long winter, and everyone wants to be, outside this summer. So when it comes to finances, just know that outside is also really expensive. So I'm really excited about today's topic because we're touching on a very sensitive / very important conversation that I feel like a lot of us, especially those who are currently working or those who have been working for some time, a lot of us need to start having these conversations more openly. So today I'm gonna, be all the way transparent with you guys about my salary information, my salary experiences, and I'm gonna share a few tips on how and when you should negotiate as well, because I think it's extremely important to negotiate. So let me start off by answering this person's question. First things first, regardless of whether you're just starting out your career, whether you are 10 years in, whether you are 5 years in, whether you started 2 months ago, you always need to negotiate. That's a fact. That's a given, right? Don't even try to let anyone talk you out of that. Always negotiate, because the way you start as a company is really going to determine your trajectory from there, right? If you start at $60,000, they're only going to increase it in small increments as the years go by, as opposed to negotiating and starting $78,000. At that point, you know that, okay, you're moving up, and it's going to take a shorter time for you to actually hit your goals, right? So always negotiate. That's my first tip. Number one, always negotiate regardless of your situation. So back to my first experience with salary. So I remember my first salary letter that I received, offer letter basically, and it said, "Congratulations, we're pleased to offer you the position of," I think at that time it was an associate manufacturing engineering position at a company, and the salary was $65,000, right? And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, wow, I'm transitioning from college students making $0. Now all of a sudden these people are going to pay me $65,000. Yes, I'm accepting it, right? And at that point I had very little knowledge when it came to negotiating. And I remember I asked the people that were around me there at that time, and let me even just go off track a bit. The people that you surround yourself with will help make you or break you, honestly, because as I share my story, you realize that the people that I surround myself really influence me, whether it's positive or negative. They seriously influence me. So at the point where I received the offer of $65K, I asked my friends around me, and they were like, yo, this is really good to start out. So there's no I shouldn't even worry about negotiating or anything, because it's a really good offer. There's no there's no point. And I believe so this position was going to be out of state, so they included relocation money. I think at that point it was $5,000 or something like that. I remember I asked I ended up reaching out to a relative of mine to ask them what do you think I should do, right? Because I wanted, something in me just wanted more information about this process. So luckily, I was able to contact someone that has been working in America for a few years. So they did tell me that, yeah, I need to negotiate regardless of what the outcome is. Still ask them if there's room for increase in the salary and everything. So I did. I went ahead, I reached out to them and I asked them if they could, if there was any wiggle room with the salary because this was a bit too low for me. And they basically said no. And I was like, okay, how about the relocation assistance? They were like, okay, they can bump that up a bit. So that was when I realized that, okay, it's not just your salary that you negotiate. You actually negotiate other details in the offer letter, right? But for me, coming out of undergrad, I was just thinking, okay, Charlie, is the money. Like, let me just make sure I negotiate the money because the money is everything. But then, I will tell you now that as I've gotten older and I've been working for a longer time, I will tell you that you need to negotiate the other parts of the offer letter, like your PTO, the days that you get to take off, like relocation assistance, for example, all these little things. So even though this first company didn't increase my salary, they did increase my relocation money, and that was fine. As an international student at that point, they were also offering to sponsor me with my work visa. And if you're an international student, you know that that's like international student gold, right? So for me, I was like, okay, let me not push my luck because this is what I need at the end of the day. So I'm really going to go ahead and just accept it because the money is not bad. Well, to me at that time, I was like, the money wasn't bad. Like, they're paying me to relocate, and then they're sponsoring me. Like, this is such a good deal, right? But then I realized that the relocation assistance money that I even negotiated was not enough because I didn't think, or I didn't take time to calculate how much it would actually cost me to move from where I was living at that time to a completely different state, right? Consider even whether you're driving down or you're flying, consider how much you would pay for rents. Like, you usually have to put down like first and last month's rent. You have to, if you need to ship things, like you need to consider all those things when it comes to negotiating relocation assistance. Honestly, don't just accept the money just because, right? So that's my second tip, like negotiate every other aspect of your offer letter and make sure that you actually calculate the information you need when it comes to relocation. Long story short, I wasn't able to work at that company because I found out, I think a month later or 2 weeks later, that I had to retake a class. So I had to, let go of the offer. But I will say that with this company, they waited for me because I thought I'll be able to take the class in the summer and then start with them in August. But I wasn't able to, but they waited for me all the way up until I think the end of July. And I think that spoke levels to me because I was like, oh wow, like you guys really cherish me enough to even want to help me out with this tough situation I find myself in. So that was a plus for them as well. So the following year, when I was still applying for jobs, I landed another job offer, and this was also still out of state. And this second job offer was for $60,000. So at this point, I have something to go off of because I have received a previous offer of $65,000 like a few months prior to that, and now I'm being offered $60,000. So when it comes to negotiating, I had the confidence to be able to even ask for more, So with this company, I started my negotiation process really early, and I looked into the cost of living at this place. And the funny thing is, when I compared how much or how expensive apartments were in this place compared to my very first offer, it was cheaper in this place. So it kind of made sense why the salary was slightly cheaper, because the cost of living there was lower as well. So these are things you should take into consideration. Like, do the research when it comes to the place where the company is, because certain places the cost of living is really high, so they offer you significantly more money, right? So if you're comparing, it's like comparing apples to oranges. You really cannot compare the two. And also, let me just throw this in there, like if you're not in computer engineering or anything of the sort, like don't come to a job interview expecting them to just drop like $120,000 for you. No, that's the difference. Engineering is all engineering, but then there's a difference with the money that the computer engineers make and then the money that like maybe mechanical engineers would make, right? You won't start off at $100,000. Like just let that be known, right? And then also take into consideration the fact that you're coming straight out of college, so you have very limited experience, so you can't be overly ambitious. Like, yes, you need to be paid your worth, you need to do the research and all that, but make sure that you're researching your field and you're not just researching other fields, because there's a reason why those people get paid what they paid and then other people get paid what they paid. So yeah. And also let it be known that it depends on the country you're at, right? Because I know that people in England are paid differently and people in America get paid differently as opposed to someone also working in engineering in South Africa as well. So make sure you're doing the research based on where you live, the country, the state you live in, and I would say ask at least 5 people you know in the field and ask them. And I mean, it eventually didn't work out with this second company. They actually increased my salary. They increased the relocation assistance, but you know, things just didn't work out. So I didn't work there. Then I got another offer. Mind you, this is with the same qualifications. This is still me coming straight out of undergraduate and getting these offers. So the third offer was for, I believe it was $77,000, right? It was also outside the state I was living in, and the cost of living there was, I would say, was average. And so for me, it kind of made me think like, okay, wow, 3 different companies. And I mean, I did compare the sizes of the companies to see like what's the difference? Why is everyone offering me like different numbers, right? And I looked at the first company was a really big company. The second company was a smaller company. This third company was an average size company under like a bigger company. So I was like, okay. And even with them, there was wiggle room for me to ask for more money and more relocation assistance as well. And for them, they were even open to putting me up because they really wanted me to start really early. So they were open to putting me up in a hotel for, I think, the first couple of weeks till I find my, apartments and housing and all that. But then this goes to show with someone graduating from, plastics engineering degree, undergraduate, I had 3 co-ops under my belt at the time. And then I'm getting these offers. I remember I asked a few of my friends, I believe one was a chemical engineer at the time. He had been working for some time. And I asked another friend, he was mechanical engineering, like, oh, how much did you start with? The chemical engineer said he accepted a much lower salary of, I believe it was $50,000 at the time, because he had been looking for a job for a very long time. And this was the first one he found, right? And then the mechanical engineer said he started off with, I believe, $80,000 at the time. So like, I feel like hopefully these numbers give you an idea if you find yourself in any of these fields. But eventually the goal is to make sure that you're getting paid your worth, right? You've gone to school, you've acquired a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and you want to get paid for that. One thing I want to share is that employers really benefit from us not being transparent with our pay, right? I'm not saying walk outside and tell everybody how much you make. No, I'm not even sitting here telling you how much I make, but based on my previous experiences, I'm telling you how I started or some of the offers that I got, like just to give you a ballpark of what kind of numbers you should be looking at. Then again, I may live in a completely different area than you do, so it's really up to you, and it's up to a lot of factors. If someone walks up to me and says, oh, I got the salary amount, is it okay? I'm not going to say yes or no. My answer is going to be based on, okay, where do you live? How much experience do you have? What degrees do you have? How long? Where's the company based? And how much are they offering you? There's so many factors to this. And then also, I always do research on Glassdoor. I calculate the average that I should be getting based on my job title as well. And I know pay scale is also another good one. And you have to, like, you really have to do research. You don't just accept whatever anyone gives you, right? So I really hope this has helped you. I really hope this information has benefited you. I really I think I need to do another one of these and actually talk to someone working in HR and see what they think, because, or like what the thought process is when they're actually offering someone like money, right? So hopefully I'll be able to work on that. But I have enjoyed being transparent with you guys, and I really hope that you have benefited from that. That's the purpose of this podcast, to have these open and transparent conversations to help women in STEM, to also help answer any questions that you may have that you cannot easily ask people, right? So I remember for the longest time before I started actually working in my field, I always struggled to get like a good idea of how much I should be getting paid based on the field that I work in. And because none of my friends were working there at the time, and I hadn't really developed like a strong community of women in STEM in my field. So I had a coworker I was pretty close to, and I asked this person what their salary was when they started, because I found it easier to ask that question to see where they started, so I can also compare myself, because I realized this person had the same amount of education that I was coming into the company with, the same amount of experience. And so, but then their race was different, right? That's a whole different conversation. Their gender was different, so that's a whole different conversation. But for me, I wanted to use it as a stepping stone to see whether I started off on the right foot or not. And when I spoke to this person, they ended up sharing with me that they did start much higher, and they had also been doing their research and found out within different groups in the company that, this is how much other people were earning. So with that, it gives you confidence to know how to ask for more money, or what to even ask for, And so I think if you have these relationships, definitely try to nurture them. And I mean, even though most of my friends don't work in my field, I'm always constantly having conversations with my girlfriends like, hey, someone gets a job offer, they're like, okay, this is the salary they offered me, girl, what do you think? I do my research, they do their research, we meet up, we discuss, like, okay, no, you have a bachelor's, you have a master's, you have like 5 years experience, you should be starting at this level, so push for that. We support each other. And I think this comes back to the point that I was saying initially, that who you surround yourself with really, really makes positive or negative impacts on your life. So make sure that you surround yourself with people that you can have these open conversations with, these transparent conversations with. And honestly, just always make sure that you're doing research. Always make sure you're asking the right questions. Always make sure you're putting yourself out there, And one thing to note is that when employers put out these job postings, they set a specific amount of money aside for the position. And very rarely do they offer the full thing. So just know that at the back of your mind, there's always wiggle room on the employer side. So always, even if that they are paying me, or this is what, it really doesn't hurt to ask for more, right? The worst you can get is no. The worst you can get is them taking the offer back. But if they take it back, it means it wasn't meant for you in the first place. So I really hope you all work more on your negotiation skills, because I believe it's a skill you need to have. And also always negotiate. If you have any more questions, please slide into our DMs at Dear Woman in STEM on Instagram, or drop us a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to share this podcast with someone that would strongly benefit from the podcast. And don't forget to subscribe as well. This really, really helps the podcast grow. Look forward to speaking with you all very soon. Sincerely, Lillian Judy.